Hello, Hat-Tricks fans. We welcome you back inside the Hat-Tricks Lounge here on the second floor of the Danbury Ice Arena for another episode of Hat-Tricks Weekly. I'm Hat-Tricks broadcaster Doug Lattuca with General Manager Matt Voity. Matt, how are you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing well. You've been with the organization since the very start. Obviously started up with Billy McCreary. He's now to the ECHL. You transitioning into a new role as the General Manager. How has that been?
It's been pretty smooth. It's a little bit more work. There's some more details you have to take care of, but I think, with Johnny and Gons and the three of us working together, it's been pretty seamless.
What can you say about Johnny and Kyle taking over as co-head coaches, the job they've done through the first 6 games?
I think they've done a great job. It's not easy to be in pads and have the responsibility of being a coach as well. And obviously what you say when you're a coach, you really have to be smart about it, maybe more so than when you're a player. And I think they've comported themselves pretty well. And there's a lot more pressure on them, for sure, especially with, it's not just player assistant, it's player head coach. And I think they've handled that pretty well.
Is that what you expected them to take it over seamlessly, do a nice job? I mean, both had letters on their jerseys for multiple years before entering as co-head coaches. Did you expect a smooth transition for them?
Yes. I mean, certainly there were some things we were gonna have to work out. Like, for myself, it's definitely like different having, player head coaches versus even player assistant. I mean, that it makes a difference, right? But it's been good because it's really run like, a true staff where, everyone's sharing responsibilities, everyone kind of has their department, and everything flows together.
A couple weeks into the season now, what have you seen at practice over the last couple of weeks? Have things ramped up? Are people or players starting to become more familiar with the systems and getting comfortable with their line mates?
Yeah, I think guys have really come to the rink ready to learn and ready to get better. I think the energy has been very consistent and very, very high. I think the tempo has been pretty good. We tried to not necessarily speed up practice, but just keep the tempo going a little bit more, so maybe a little bit less board time, so a little more preparation. But I think the communication's been good. I think, everyone's pulling in the same direction.
For someone who was watching a practice from the outside, what does a good practice look and sound like?
I mean, I think there's a couple different aspects to that. I think one is obviously the players talking. Mm-hmm. But I think sometimes just listening for the sounds of hockey. I talking to another colleague this summer, when things are crisp and going well, you can hear pucks hitting sticks cleanly. You can hear even the sounds of the skates and the stopping. It's the voices, it's the sticks, it's the skates, sounds of the pads. Hopefully you have some sounds of the pads. Very few whistles, for sure.
I think a lot of fans don't always hear the sounds of hockey, especially when they pack the Danbury Ice Arena and they're loud. The crowd is going.
Sometimes I don't hear them.
You're not really hearing the crispness of a pass tape to tape through center or a kick save by McCullum, but in practice you definitely do when the arena is empty. You guys got off to a hot start. I spoke with Johnny last week. He said that was a key specifically against Watertown in the first game. Yeah. You guys scored the first goal in both games against Watertown and Binghamton. How does that set the tone for the rest of the game, getting on the board first?
I think when you're on time to play and you show up and you score that first goal, you just feel like you're taking command of the game and you're directing the game. And I think when you find yourself in that position, it's comfortable. Yeah, sure, there's more pressure, but I think it's, as a player and as a team, it's much more comfortable to be in that position than, what's going to happen, kind of waiting to see what they're going to do, and they scored a goal and now we got to go get one. When we come out and we're dictating how a game's going to go, and which really essentially means we're playing our game and executing our game plan, you can't ask to be in a better spot in the game.
back-to-back games go into overtime. Overtime has been a little bit of a concern for you guys, being outshot 16-1 in the couple of overtime games that you guys have played in, 12-0 specifically against both Watertown and Binghamton. Is that something that you're seeing on the ice, 3-on-3, something that you're trying to practice during the week, or is it not as lopsided as the shots are telling you?
I think maybe a little bit of both. I didn't expect to be in so many overtime games so early, but and that's, hey, that's on me. Like I think, we've definitely done a little bit more 3-on-3. I don't think it's been quite as lopsided. It hasn't felt that way to me. I think we've just made some mistakes. I think it's a little bit of some young guys not quite being in that position and understanding, okay, I can turn back and buy some time. I'm over the blue line. It doesn't mean I have to stay there. I can turn back and buy time. And we're going to get better at that. I think we just have to work through some things.
Yeah, a lot more ice available with the 3-on-3 hockey. And you guys were on the penalty kill in that game against Binghamton, which ended. So that definitely didn't help your cause, having to try and kill something off in the overtime.
No, and I think the penalties are, to be honest with you, I think if you look at the overtime games, we've put ourselves there when we didn't need to, and that's kind of some early season stuff that we've got to learn from and mature from and grow from.
Now, you guys had the back-to-back overtime games. We'll specifically go into Saturday night's game, the win against Binghamton. 2 games against the Black Bears, 2 games past regulation. Is that what you expect against the reigning Commissioner's Cup champion Binghamton? They're in first place in the Empire, but this rivalry is hot as ever, 2 very competitive teams. Is that what you're looking for every time that the 2 teams meet up?
Yeah, I thought the first game was really going to be more of a litmus test for us to see, because we have so many new faces too, and kind of see how we stack up with them. I think I expect it to be a battle. I don't know if it's always going to be 3-2, 2-3, or 4-3, whatever. It might be 6-5. But I think it's going to be a tight checking game. I think our boys are up for the challenge. The returners have something to prove. The young guys have something to prove. So I think those games will be very tight, exciting, dramatic games.
Last weekend, the first weekend with 2 road games, no home games. How was the 2-game weekend away from home, the road trip, getting ready for 2 games where you're sleeping in a hotel bed and then you've got to go play in enemy territory?
It's, sometimes the first road trip of the season, you have to kind of get readjusted and remember what to put in your bag. And but I think, the guys handled it pretty well. The travel wasn't too bad. We got up there early for Watertown, and then, the next day we're driving down to Bingo, but there's a nice big mall in Syracuse that we were able to get a nice team lunch at.
Yes, yeah. I know it well.
And so about all the rides, and there's a zoo in there, believe it or not. So we got to spend some time there, which was good for the boys. You got to walk around and go down to Bingo.
And typically you guys go to Watertown a day early. If the game is on Friday, you guys will leave on Thursday. Don't have the luxury of that this weekend with the home and home. No. Friday here in Danbury and then off to Watertown on Saturday. How do you adjust to that? It's a little bit of a longer bus ride than a Binghamton or an Elmira last year. Of course, Hudson Valley. How is that a little bit different, having less prep time, maybe a little less sleep time?
You definitely have to kind of think about your lineup and how you want to manage the lineup in some key spots. The 3 of us are talking about that right now. Some of it depends on what happens Friday, to be perfectly honest. But that's probably the biggest key to it. And then just making sure everything's smooth on the way there. The operations and the logistics of it are smooth. You don't want to, waste time. You don't want to waste time wasting time. So
I talked to Billy a lot last year about the Danberry Pipeline players starting with the hat tricks, moving up the ranks. Another one, Colby Johnson, just signed with the Worcester Railers in the ECHL, the Islanders affiliate. You, of course, have had your fingerprints all over goaltending pipeline with Brian Wilson and others, even Connor McCullum, who's here with the hat tricks and was potentially in the running to make an SPHL team right out of camp. What does it show about the Danbury culture, Danbury hockey, when guys continue to go up the ranks? Some of your better players from last year, 2 years ago, are now making their statement at some higher levels.
Yeah, I mean, it's, we had Dylan Kelly who made the American League. Yeah. I mean, that's, I think from the beginning, Billy and I have always tried to be about teaching. And even at this level, you're still teaching, even though they're men and they've been playing for a long time. There's still things that they can learn, and they all want to move up, right? Especially the young guys, and some of them just have to learn some of the details that get there. And I think it's a great reflection on our culture. I think it's a great reflection on the players, because it's not an easy thing to do. Mm-hmm. It's a very difficult thing to move up and to stick somewhere. And even Colby was a kid that came to us last year, and he had a good resume playing in the WHL, and had to work on a couple things, on the ice, off the ice. And to his credit, he took it on and did it, and now he's in the Coast.
And we'll shift to sort of your expertise, the goaltending side, with the director of goaltending for both the Null team and the Fed team for 5 years, still working with all the goalies in the organization. Yep. Connor, spectacular on Saturday, 36 for 39, stopped all 8 shots in the shootout. He continues to put up good numbers. It seems like whenever you need a save, McCullum has been there. Yeah. How much confidence does it give the team when you've got MC back there?
Just a ton. It's sometimes you got to guard against overconfidence. It gives us a ton. Like when the guy back there's kicking, it allows the guys in front of him to play a little more loose, maybe take a few more chances when they need to, and kind of make up for some mistakes that we make, and kind of buy us some time to maybe correct those mistakes within the game.
And you have 3 goalies on the active roster. Yep. How do you balance that playing time? Are you riding the hot hand, or are you trying to get a higher rep here and there just to keep someone fresh?
Yeah, I'm trying to manage reps a little bit more this year. I think we really ran Connor a lot last year, and I think in this league with what goalies see, that's a very challenging and difficult thing on the goaltender to do. So, I'm trying to manage his reps, and then the other 2, Frankie and Russo, spotting them in where they're going to be successful and they're going to help us out, and still having that competition for the 2 spot.
And Connor, a rookie and league record 24 wins last year. You guys, a couple weeks in, you're sitting around 500. You've got a couple wins past regulation, couple regulation wins, been in tight games pretty much throughout, besides the one big victory in Hudson Valley. Is this kind of where you expected the team to be at this point?
I'm going to be honest. I don't know if I had any sort of expectation. Mm-hmm. It's not surprising to me. I think with some of the new guys that we had coming in, I knew it was going to be a learning curve. Just looking ahead at the schedule and what we had, maybe expected 1 or 2 more wins at this point, but given the way it's broken down, I kind of understand why we are where we are. And I think now we're getting to the point where I'm looking for us to take a step and be much more consistent in our results.
And you saw Watertown last Friday. You'll see them this Friday and Saturday. Yep. Is it a little easier for the guys to game plan, think about what they're going to do in the game when you saw a team a week prior?
Yes, it's definitely easier. It's mentally you kind of know what to expect. Mm-hmm. You don't have to review something new or look at someone new on film. So.
And we'll go a little bit of a fill in the blank, which is a tradition here on Hat Tricks Weekly. Guys have Watertown on Friday. You were talking about taking the next step. How do you guys elevate your play? Take the next step in your mind against Watertown on Friday.
I think just recognizing, identifying important times in the game, especially late in the game in the third period, and making sure we're executing on our details and not getting into cruise control, not getting ourselves into penalty trouble. And really having that killer instinct in terms of how we're playing in, say, the last 20 minutes or even the last 10 minutes of a game.
Thanks, Matt. Hat tricks are in action for 2 games this weekend. Friday at home, it's Military Appreciation Night. If you are an active or retired military personnel, go to danburyhattricks.com/military. You can get a free ticket, free beverage. We'd love to host you on Friday. And then the team is off to Watertown on Saturday for the second game of the weekend. We'll see you on Friday night here at the DIA.